Hey guys, PumpOne back here with you on part 2 of servicing and cleaning a used pump. We left off in the part 1 video of just going over the different markings on the float and the importance of those. So before we actually submerge this pump into the vat of liquid, I just want to kind of take a minute and tell you what these 3 marks are. You have a buoyancy point, a top trigger point, and a bottom trigger point. On your buoyancy point, which we'll explain in a minute, that's just where the pump is free floating and where the float is just free floating, where it's just going to float by itself. You're going to make that first marking. Once you make that first marking, you're going to go up 2 inches and you're going to mark a mark, which is going to be your top trigger point. And then from the bottom, your bottom's always going to be 1.5 inches off the bottom, and that's going to be your bottom trigger point. So if you'll take this pump and just submerge it, and we can kind of show them real quick about just the buoyancy where the pump's free floating. So we mark that first mark, and we come up, and then we're looking for our top trigger point, and we're looking for a trip point at that. And then once we come up, we're looking for a trip point at our bottom, which we trip correctly at both points. Now, if we didn't trip correctly and we were off at any point, we would just need to adjust the magnets. And what you can do is refer to a video of actually setting the float. And what we can do there is we'll be able to show you exactly how to adjust these magnets to achieve the correct trip points at your trigger points. So we'll take a minute now, and we're just going to grease these the O-rings up on the bottom check valve and the head, and then we'll actually go back in the casing with it, and then we'll go to the next step. Now he's just finished applying his white lithium grease, which you can get it at Lowe's, you can get it anywhere, but it really doesn't matter, just so long as you have some sort of grease on the O-ring of the head and on the O-ring of the actual bottom check valve. So now going back in with the pump, you just want to make sure that your casing's standing up. You always want to go back in with the body of the pump first. You don't ever want to try to put the bottom check valve on first and spin the top. But as you can see there, once he goes back in with it, just a slight amount of pressure is applied. The pump pops right back in the casing. And then very key part here is he's just going to flip the pump upside down, and then he's going to screw his bottom check valve on. Now the reason for this is if you would try to put it in a vise, you would actually see that as you had it in the vise, the discharge tube would actually want to hang down a little bit, and it's very tough to engage the threads on this bottom check valve. So standing it up just makes it super easy to just engage the threads and screw it right on. Now obviously he's not going to be able to get it so tight doing it like that, but that's when you just put it right back in the vise, and then he can take and finish screwing it in with his bottom check valve wrench. Again, very key point. Notice right here that he's locking his head down in the vise. And something I didn't mention earlier in part 1, when you're initially locking this head down, you just want to make sure that you have some sort of non-metallic jaws. We just use rubber jaws here. You can use fiberglass, just anything non-metallic, just to keep from scarring the head of the pump up. But again, I can't stress enough, key point, lock the head down in the vise. Do not lock the casing down in the vise. He's going to take his bottom check valve wrench, just simply screw his bottom check valve back on. And notice, I don't know how well you can see here, but as soon as he gets to the casing, he stops. There's no need to really just tighten this thing as tight as you can get it. Once your O-ring is in there, once he achieved by screwing it in vertically, he has a seal. So there's no reason to just sit there and just say, oh, I'm just going to get this thing as tight as I can. Just no need for it. So right now this pump is back together with it. As far as we know, we're good. We just need to put our correct hose barbs back in, whether you have our fast fit, standard hose barbs, whatever you're using. And you want to run it through some sort of test station. Now we have other videos too of showing in depth on how our test station's set up, and we have, can show you how to test for slow fill, test for high head pressure, and just go through all the steps of testing, which is very important. So refer back to our videos on that as well to see how to test it. But as far as just a simple breakdown, a simple cleaning, this is about all you need. A couple key points to just summarize. Soaking bath, can't stress it enough, very important. The head of the vise, locking it down in the head, very important. And then the test of the air ingression and testing that seat to make sure you have no leaks. Those are the three must-dos, the three important parts. Thanks for watching, guys. Refer to our other videos for more help, or feel free to call us or visit our website. Thanks.